1 week after the deadly shooting at Apalachee High School in Georgia, we are breaking down what we know and the timeline of events in this case. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. As you know, we have been covering this devastating and horrific school shooting from last week out of Georgia, and we thought we would do a recap of what we currently know about this case, a timeline of events. So with that, what do we know? We know that 14-year-old Colt Gray is accused of opening fire at Apalachee High School in Winder, Georgia on September 4th, making it the deadliest school shooting this year. He is charged currently with 4 counts of felony murder for killing 2 students, Mason Schemmerhorn and Christian Angulo, both 14 years old, and 2 teachers, 39-year-old Ricky Aspinwall and 53-year-old Christina Ermey. He was arrested within minutes of the shooting after school resource officers confronted him. He surrendered. He's expected to face, by the way, more charges in the coming days for the 9 other people that were injured in this attack. They're all expected to survive. His father, 54-year-old Colin Gray, was arrested the next day. He's facing his own charges. 2 charges of second-degree murder, 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter, as well as 8 counts of cruelty to children, because officials say he recklessly allowed his teen son access to weapons when there were warning signs, and we're going to get to that. A grand jury is going to review their case and decide whether to return indictments. So what happened before all this? What happened since? What happened on the day in question? This is what we want to get into. So first I'll say, in the aftermath of this tragedy, there has been an outpouring of support. There has been support from the community. There's been support from across the country. There have been fundraisers set up, GoFundMes that have been set up. In fact, there's one organization, Victims First. It's organized by survivors of other mass shootings. That was set up to provide financial assistance to the families that were affected in this school shooting. What do we know about the 4 people that were killed? Christina Ermey, math teacher, Romanian, apparently dedicated her life to shaping the minds and hearts of students in the community. That's according to a GoFundMe that was set up for her family. Richard Aspinwall, math teacher, defensive coordinator for the football team of the school, married, father of 2. The Apalachee football team said in a statement on X, quote, "To our beloved defensive coordinator, Ricky Aspinwall, we will carry you heavy in our hearts. We love you, Coach A." Christian Angulo, freshman, sweet, caring, loved by so many. That's how he's described on the GoFundMe that was set up for his family. Mason Schemmerhorn, another freshman, for his GoFundMe, states he was the sweetest, most loving soul with the biggest smile and will be missed dearly. Now, we know this was a big week because most Barrow County students headed back to school for the first time since this shooting took place last week. But it appears that the Apalachee High School students haven't gone back yet. In fact, in a video statement, Barrow County School Superintendent Dr. Dallas LaDuff said, quote, "If you are not ready to return to school, we ask that you reach out to your school's principal. Let them know that you're not ready and allow them to assist you with finding any resources that you may need." Now, according to the school district's superintendent, as students are coming back to school, there's going to be, quote, extra support and security, including more law enforcement. This is not uncommon. We sometimes see this in the wake of these shootings. Sometimes there are copycats. Sometimes something happens. And, it's a very difficult situation. So not surprising we're seeing that. Now, I want to talk about the timeline of events that day. So my understanding is that it is being reported that Gray's mother, Marcee Gray, had called a school counselor at 9:50 a.m. on that morning, warning of a, quote, extreme emergency regarding her son, who had texted her that morning, "I'm sorry, Mom." In fact, according to WSB-TV, Marcee Gray said that her son had also sent messages to Colin, his father, saying, "I'm sorry and you're not to blame." She reportedly spoke to this school counselor for 10 minutes. In fact, Marcee Gray spoke to ABC News and said, quote, "The counselor said, well, I wanted to let you know that earlier this morning, one of Colt's teachers had sent me an email that said Colt had been making references to school shootings." In a text message to her sister, Marcee Gray said, quote, "I told them it was an extreme emergency and for them to go immediately and find Colt to check on him. I don't understand what took them so long."
Between my gut feelings, the text messages, and now this email, y'all need to go, like, run to the classroom.
Now, here's something interesting about this. At the time of this recording, we're not exactly sure what went down because neither the school district nor the sheriff's office, again, at the time of this recording, are confirming that that call with Colt Gray's mom took place or what happened right after that call may have taken place. Hey, by the way, thank you for coming to us for our coverage of this shooting. We really appreciate your trust in us. Honestly, it's something that we don't take lightly, and we're able to continue to do this because of the support that we get, not only from you guys, but also from our sponsors. And if I can, I just want to highlight one in particular right now. Morgan & Morgan, a great partner of ours. If you're injured, this firm with over 1,000 attorneys may be who you want in your corner. They're America's largest injury law firm for a reason. They win a lot. You also get a dedicated army of legal team, case investigators, paralegals, customer case specialists. There's no upfront fee. You only pay them if you win. The whole process can be done straight from your smartphone. So if you're injured, you can easily start a claim at forthepeople.com/LC Sidebar. Now, I will tell you that Rebecca Sayarath, a mother of a student, told the media that according to her daughter, at around 10 a.m. the day of the shooting, the assistant principal comes to the classroom of Colt Gray, but he apparently wasn't there. In fact, he and another student with a similar name had both stepped out of the room. And the problem is that the assistant principal had apparently the wrong name and searched this other child's backpack, didn't find anything. They weren't able to find Colt Gray in time. And what complicates this as well is our understanding is the Barrow County Sheriff, Judge Smith, told this mother that regarding her daughter's account, quote, "With all due respect, ma'am, I think your information is incorrect." Now, 11 Alive, which is a local outlet, got this response from the school district that I want to bring up. It says, quote, "Because this is an active investigation, we will not be commenting on specific details. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation is handling that information. Please visit our website for updates we are sharing with families in our community. Thank you for your understanding." This is according to a spokesperson. Now, the sheriff's office didn't respond to 11 Alive either, and we're still trying to figure out how this weapon was brought onto these school grounds. Also, here's a new development. Marcee Gray, again, Colt Gray's mother, released a letter to CNN first, and I want to read it to you. It says, quote, "To the parents and families of those affected by the tragic events at Apalachee High School, I want to say that I am so sorry from the bottom of my heart." The letter continues, "If I could take the place of Mason and Christian, I would without a second thought." She then says that her heart breaks for the two teachers who gave their lives while in the service of teaching and protecting our children. The letter goes on to state, "We are all in a living nightmare right now, and I will personally never forgive myself for what has happened. My son Colt is not a monster. He is my oldest baby. He is quiet, thoughtful, caring, funny, and extremely intelligent. Please pray for him and the rest of our family as I am praying for all of you every moment of every day." And keeping it within the family, it's also being reported that according to the suspected shooter's aunt, the school and the family were discussing the mental state of Colt Gray about a week before the shooting, as he was reportedly having homicidal and suicidal thoughts. And this is interesting too. 11 Alive has just revealed new details about Gray's school history, because according to the Barrow County Sheriff, Judge Smith, the shooting took place on Gray's first real day of school. So apparently, Gray was with the Hall County schools for 3 months, from August 2019 to November 2019. Then he goes to West Jackson Middle School from February 2022 to August 2022. Then he goes to the Jefferson Middle School, where he finishes 7th grade. And you're thinking, you know, aside from moving so much, which can be difficult and traumatic for somebody that young, there have been reports, including from the suspected shooter's father, Colin Gray, and we'll get to this in a second, that his son had been bullied, that he was having a really tough time in school. And when we talk about what do we know about the Grays, Gray's maternal grandfather, Charles Polhamus, told local station 13 WMAZ, quote, "I understand that Colt did it, and he needs to pay the ultimate price. I understand that, and I don't disagree with that. But his dad is as guilty as Colt is. His dad beat up on him. I mean, I'm not talking about physical, but screaming and hollering, and he did the same thing to my daughter." And then to the New York Post on Sunday, Polhamus added that Gray, meaning this father, was evil and that he had driven Colt to do what he did. "That's as plain as I can put it, and I know I'm right." And he actually says that Colin Gray deserves the death penalty. To the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, this grandfather also said, quote, "Me personally, I totally blame the father. He just as well shot these people as far as I'm concerned, because I don't particularly think my grandson would have been the way he was except the environment that he lived in." I'm going to get back to this family situation in just a minute, but there was another major development that came out this week, and we actually did a previous sidebar on it. This newly released body cam footage when law enforcement visited Colin and Colt Gray back in May of 2023. So when we're talking about this dynamic between the father and the son, and particularly for a legal case, especially involuntary manslaughter, was what his son allegedly did foreseeable? Could you have predicted this? Could you have done something to step in? Back then, last year, the FBI had apparently gotten a tip about someone threatening to shoot up a school, and there were also pictures of guns, on this video game social platform called Discord. And one of the disturbing things, too, was that the Discord account's username was in Russian letters that spelled out Lanza in reference to Adam Lanza, the shooter that murdered 26 people at the Sandy Hook Elementary School back in 2012. Now, the account user wrote, "I'm committing a mass shooting and I'm waiting a good 2 to 3 years." And above a photograph of 2 firearms, the account posted, "I'm ready." So the FBI ended up tracing it back to Colt Gray through an email address. They ended up passing along this information to local law enforcement who visited Colin and Colt Gray. Here's a snippet.
Let me ask you this, do you have weapons in the house?
I do.
Are they accessible to him?
They are. I mean, there's nothing loaded, but they are down. We do a lot of shooting. We do a lot of deer hunting. He shot his first deer this year.
Did it? Okay.
You know, so like I'm pretty much in shock, to be honest with you.
Well,
I'm a little pissed off, to be even really honest with you. If that is what was said.
came in.
These are good dudes. Just they're told.
Hey Colt, what's going on, bud? So did your dad kind of explain everything to you?
Said something about
Shooting up a school.
Did you say something about school shooting?
Never, I just told him, I don't know what, maybe they misheard somebody else. I don't never say I would threaten them to shoot school.
You never ever said.
No, I swear.
Do you use Discord?
Discord?
Yes, sir.
I used to. I don't have it anymore.
And he also talked about how his son was bullied and was going through a tough time. In the end, there wasn't enough corroboration. There wasn't enough evidence here to back up these threats. In fact, law enforcement couldn't even verify that this online account was Colt Gray's. There was no probable cause of a crime. The investigation was closed. I spoke to Tracy Walder earlier this week, who said law enforcement did everything that they were supposed to do. There was nothing more that they could have done. But here's something. Were the schools notified about this visit from police? Well, Jackson County Sheriff Janice Mangum told reporters this week, quote, "I have an email that says area schools were notified. That's all I can say. The schools are saying they have no documentation of it." Now, here's the problem for Colin Gray, is that he is accused of gifting his son the AR-15 style rifle that he allegedly used in this shooting in December of 2023. So just a few months after this visit by police. Again, going to this idea of warning signs, foreseeability. Now, what do we know about Colin Gray and Colt Gray? Well, according to the New York Post, a relative claims that Colin bought the gun for his son to toughen him up, that he allegedly called him a sissy. So you couple that with the allegations from this grandfather that this father was verbally abusive to his son. This is another development. Another allegation. But now let's go back to this family dynamic, and especially in light of this letter written by the mother of this suspected shooter. In July of 2022, it's our understanding that Colin and Colt were living with Marcee Gray, Colt's mom, and Colt's 2 younger siblings at a home in Jefferson, Georgia, which is in Jackson County. And there was a writ of eviction that was filed, and Colin and Marcee were separated. Colin, Colt, they moved into a home in a different Jefferson subdivision. Marcee apparently took the 2 younger children, moved back to her parents' home in Fitzgerald, Georgia. Marcee has a long rap sheet, and in fact, she was arrested on suspicion of keying Colin's car and drug possession. She ended up pleading guilty to several charges, was sentenced to 5 months probation. Now, according to the New York Post, a neighbor of the Grays from back in 2022, Lauren Vickers, said that she noticed there were problems with the Gray family. Quote, there were nights where the mom would lock him and his sister out the house, and they would be banging on the back door, just screaming like, "Mom, Mom, Mom," and crying. It was absolutely devastating. She said, I would find her in the driveway passed out with the car running and blaring music early in the morning. Regarding Colt, she said, he wasn't a bully or a mean kid. He didn't say much. He was so quiet. And she said that her daughter, Berlin, was a classmate of Colt's. So as we listen to this, and I'm sure more information will come out, it's just painting a picture of a really sad and tragic and disturbing case. And we will see what happens in terms of the legal case, whether the grand jury will come back with indictments against Colt and Colin Gray, whether additional charges will come forward, but we'll continue to monitor it for you here on Sidebar. That's all we have for you right now, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe to Sidebar on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. Speak to you next time.